Over the past year, there's been a major story about Customs and Border Protection facilitating child trafficking and actively working, whether intentionally or otherwise, with cartels. Dr. Phil famously told The View that children are trafficked across the border, and CBP agents, knowing that those children will be sent into prostitution and slavery rings, do so anyway. They don't seem to care. Now, I have long advocated for the arrest of these individuals. The presumption people make is that these poor, bumbling CBP agents are going, oh, heavens me, Biden's making me do it. Even if that was the case, I say, lock them up, throw away the key. But it's so fascinating how people were so quick to give the benefit of the doubt to these CBP agents that have sometimes been caught sitting by doing nothing as criminal cartels, gangs, and other individuals run across the border. We've seen those videos. James O'Keefe has one where a Border Patrol agent sitting there watching, and they're just crossing the border. We've heard story after story of these agents bringing these people in, giving them rides to be sent across the country. It's all illegal. These guys know it's all illegal. The argument that your boss ordered you to break the law is not an excuse. In fact, that just means you knew you were doing it. The story gets worse. When Dr. Phil exposed this, he wasn't the only one. Children have numbers written on their arms or hands. CBP agents call the number, know it's a trafficking or slavery ring, and say, well, child, right this way. Those people should be in prison. And I'll say it again. The presumption was this poor CBP agent just didn't really know. What if they did? What if they were in on the take? From the Daily Mail. Border agent accused of being a cartel member was arrested after wife's lifestyle raised major red flags. And it's funny, this didn't happen during the Biden administration, but it happens during the Trump administration. Lavish trips to Dubai, designer clothing for a federal border agent's wife were allegedly funded by a suspected membership of a Mexican drug cartel. Could it be, my friends, that the CBP agents on the border are in on the take and are taking money from cartels to traffic children? I ain't giving any of these people the benefit of the doubt. I ain't playing that game. Here you go. Fox News. This is from just the other day. Mexico's Sinaloa cartel woven into U.S. communities, former DEA agent says. How about this one? From American Military University, Mexican drug cartels have infiltrated the United States. How hard is it for people to believe that these agents on the border are members? Well, they're getting paid off. Tell me, for you all listening at home, what would it take for you to help a child sex trafficker? What would it take? Honest question. You're sitting there minding your own business outside. Trafficker walks up and says, I want you to take this child and deliver them to where they will be enslaved. What would it take for you to do that? Oh, I already know what you're saying. You're saying, I would never do anything like that. So ask yourself this question, understanding how you feel about it. What do you think it took for CBP agents to do this every day? Come on. Could it be that Joe Biden told them to? Really? I mean, if your boss said, I'm sorry, like, let's say you're a car dealer and a guy comes in with a child who's crying and you know he's at the dealership for a handoff and your boss said, no, let him do it. Would you let him do it? I mean, it's a car dealership. I mean, like, what's going on? Let's say you're a cop and you watch a guy with a child and your boss says, I want you to let that trafficker take that child into slavery. Would you do it? How is it that I know all of you are saying I would never let that happen? So when you understand how you feel about it, ask yourself what must be happening with these CBP agents that they were doing this. Could it be from February 18th, 2025, border agent accused of being cartel member? Could it be these people are actually a part of the smuggling ring? You know what? I'm going to pull this one up because I know a lot of people aren't going to believe it. They're going to be like, oh, I don't know, man. Is that, let me pull up this story. Dr. Phil child trafficking. And here we go. Got to hear from Fox News on The View. Dr. Phil tells co-hosts of The View children crossing the border are being sent into prostitution and sweatshops. So how is it? Fox, fix your website. How is it? You tell me. In stunning court testimony, Perez was accused of getting paid to let illegal immigrants and drugs into the U.S., but also of being a member of the cartel that was paying him. Federal prosecutors allege. Now, they're alleging this. We don't know for sure. But again, I'm going to ask, what does it take for someone to be like, I'm going to willfully allow this to happen to children? That's weird, huh? He would party in Juarez all the time with bodyguards, and him and his wife would always go on trips to Dubai and Vegas with all the designer clothes, a federal officer told Daily Mail. Multiple witnesses said he belonged to the La Linea cartel in Mexico. An investigator with CBP's Office of Professional Responsibility testified at the court hearing in El Paso Thursday. While federal immigration agents are from time to time accused of taking money for letting immigrants on drugs through, it's rare to hear that a U.S. official is a part of a cartel. It's not very common, but at the same time, it doesn't surprise me. Retired federal agent and cartel expert Robert Almonte told Daily Mail. The cartels have been working on infiltrating law enforcement, state, local, and federal, as well as our military. Perez, assigned to inspect people and cars trying to enter the U.S. from Mexico at a checkpoint at the Paso del Norte International Bridge, was taken into custody on February 8th while he was on the job. A photo of the arrest shows Perez, 32, in a navy-colored uniform. Blah, blah, blah. He pleaded not guilty to violating multiple immigration laws, including migrant conspiracy and drug smuggling. Prosecutors say he also conspired to take 8 kilos of cocaine from El Paso to Louisiana and North Carolina. The now fired officer has allegedly been letting illegal immigrants through his inspection lane since December 2023 and making money off it. He made $2,500 per illegal immigrant he let into the country. Perez admitted to investigators, according to testimony. Smugglers bragged they had the officer in their pocket during intercepted phone calls, prosecutors stated, adding that Perez made up to $400,000 since 2023 through human smuggling. So I just want to stress this again. This guy's being accused. It's not convicted. It's not proven yet. But the story goes, investigators believe a CBP agent was smuggling human beings. How about that? With the additional money, Perez and his wife lived like a drug lord. His co-workers had noticed after seeing extravagant internet posts made by his wife. Perez's wife deleted her social media accounts after her husband was taken into custody. The lifestyle presented in her posts appeared to be beyond what a CBP officer making $100,000 to $200,000 on a government salary could afford. They have an image of the man. Perez not only partied in Juarez, but he lived there too. While he kept an apartment on the U.S. side of the border, he also rented a home on the Mexican side where he spent 80% of his time when he wasn't at work, prosecutors claimed. Federal agents are not allowed to live in Mexico unless they are assigned there, and most would consider it too dangerous. Prosecutors said Perez was always armed while in Juarez, even while he was sleeping, and that he was accompanied by security. As part of the testimony, investigators said they had photos of Perez and his armed goons in Mexico. After his arrest, $18,000 in cash was found in his Juarez home. Perez had been ordered to remain in jail in El Paso, despite his lawyer's best effort to get him released on bond last week. He's now charged with multiple counts of federal human and drug smuggling charges and could spend life in prison if convicted. Amazing. Now, I don't know. I want to say it again. Innocent until proven guilty. Sure. The point is this. I am sick to my stomach seeing these stories that we know children are being sold into slavery, and CBP agents with smiles on their faces are facilitating this. As far as I'm concerned, if you're a rookie on the job and you started on day one and a child comes in crying and they say, oh yeah, that kid's going into sex slavery. And if you at that point say, oh, well, boss told me to do it. Congratulations. You just joined a criminal enterprise that is selling children into sex slavery, and you should be in prison. Lock you up, throw away the key. I don't get it. I do not understand how people have this knee-jerk reaction to defend CBP. I see it on X. They're like, well, these guys are being forced to do it by Biden. It's not their fault. I don't care. I don't care. You ain't arguing to me. Nice try. Your words are meaningless. When a child comes in and a man hands them off, lock them up. Lock them up. And I know most people would probably argue for much worse. But I say, I don't care if you're law enforcement. I do not see cops as these glowing individuals floating on pedestals. They're people. And it's fascinating to me how many people are willing to make the assumption that the poor old officer didn't know what was happening. How about they're in on the take? How many of these guys are going to go, look, we were ordered by the Biden administration just to bring them in? And then we find out later they would stand by the border, stick their hand through the bollard fencing and receive a stack of cash. How many of them got paid to look the other way? When we see that video from James O'Keefe where a border guard is sitting there watching the illegal immigrants and doing nothing, why are we making the assumption these guys are good guys? There are good border agents. Absolutely. There was one video where a border agent stopped illegal immigrants, told them to turn around, and he got in trouble. I respect that man. But when you show me a video of them letting people come in, I don't care if their response is going to be, well, they're not letting us do anything, so I have no choice. Then quit. Instead of facilitating child trafficking and illegal immigration, quit the job. But what they're really saying is they would rather take the money from the government to obstruct our law enforcement efforts. You're a criminal. You're all criminals. Each and every one of these agents who knew what was happening and did nothing, each and every one of these agents who facilitated this or who stood back, took the paycheck and said, I won't enforce the law. They were all in on the take. I'm sick of it. Well, the CIA is expanding drone flights over Mexico. There's going to be the U.S. trainings to deal with cartels. Trump ain't playing this game. Glad to see that there's efforts being taken. I don't know if this guy is guilty, but I'm glad to see that Trump is taking it seriously. I'll wrap it up there. We got more segments coming up in a little bit. Stay tuned, and we will see you all shortly.